Hi guys, welcome to this week's Spicule Live, number 2. Woo! We did actually make it through the first one. If you're just joining us, welcome to our live weekly blog, podcasty type thing. My name is Tom. I run Spicule, where we do like data-centric application design, development, that type of thing. And so we're based here in the Enterprise Centre in Norwich. You can see our lovely shared office space. And so, you know, we use our time and skills wisely in the office. So those who joined last week, you got to see the lovely plate server, which had turned into a bit of a box. So I figure we'll give you an update this week on where that's got to. So for those of you who hadn't tuned in, we're using some Odoo x86 boards to allow us to prototype workloads. And this is where it's got to this week, although I appreciate the other box is still missing a lid. It has got a bit further than a couple of empty boxes with wires hanging out the side. So these are cool. These are Odoo x86 boards that have Arduino controllers on the same board. Which means, of course, you can start controlling things from it. And so we're using MAS, which is bare metal controlling software from Canonical, to control our hardware. And it will eventually migrate into a proper box. We're working towards it. But in the meantime, you know, we've got, how many now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servers sat under there. The beefier ones have 8 gigs of RAM. A few core processors. We've got a couple of 2 terabyte hard drives sitting there. So, you know, this prototype environment is starting to build up, and it's quite a fun project, as hackish as it currently looks, and does currently run a bunch of our Juju tests and workloads on it under the desk, you know, doing, you know, cool MAS stuff. So that's MAS for anyone who hasn't come across it. If you have stuff that you need to work, you know, you want to be able to control servers at home or in the office, and you want to be able to deploy different payloads to them, MAS is pretty cool. So I would take a look at that if you have some spare time and don't like running your own software. Of course, you can run Juju over the top, which sort of takes us on to what we have been doing this week on top of like real work, where we do actually like earn a living. We've been working to extend some of the charms that we're currently working towards offering with SDE, our data engine, and we want to add a bit more to the functionality there. One of them being adding authentication to the Hadoop stack and using you know, central authentication systems to make sure that everyone in a corporate environment would be you know, authenticated properly. So one of the things we're planning to add to SDE is Apache Ranger, and Apache Ranger will add you know, security to a bunch of different Apache-based projects, Hadoop, HDFS being one of them, but also Solar, which we support, and a few other bits and pieces. And so, you know, it's a good project to apply security to the platform. You know, but we need something to test it against. We don't, you know, being a small development team, we don't have an Active Directory server. It's not something that we just run in the background. And so we wanted to be able to test it. So it dawned on us that OpenLDAP would be a good thing to test. I've been meaning to write an OpenLDAP charm for about 2 years. So, you know, it's about time we got around to it. And so we were trying to figure out the best way to do it this week. And so what we ended up coming up with is the use of snap packages from Canonical. For those of you who haven't come across snappy stuff, it's sort of it got born out of their mobile drive, their desire to get you know, applications working across different platforms. The mobile stuff didn't quite work out, but the snap stuff has done, and it's used to great effect with their Kubernetes cluster and some other bits and pieces. And so, you know, we figured we would bring some of that to our future charm development to allow us to provide a more beneficial service to our users. So one of the cool things about snaps is they do like a rolling update. So as a developer, if I create an updated version of a snap, snap package and then commit it to the central store. I think it's once a week, your computer, your server will check for a new one, download the package, and install any updates that are required. So, it's a good way for people who don't necessarily keep up to date with apt-get and all that type of stuff to keep their software in sync. And, as long as us developers get it right, to make sure that we don't put, changes in that affect existing systems. What the packaging software will allow is for a really nice way to keep in sync with upstream packages. And also it's a really easy way to start building packages for your software. So if you're a software developer, snap packages are great because they work on a bunch of different platforms and they're really easy to get going. So again, if I just share my screen, hopefully, here we go. So this is pretty much our snap packet in its current state, in its entirety. As you can see, I haven't bothered chopping out some of the top stuff yet because we're still just testing it. But, it's working really well so far. There's some sort of tweaks and bits and pieces that we need to certainly refine. But as you can see, this is like the entire file. I can't scroll down any further because there's just nothing down there, So the entire file is split up into parts. And so if you do a software build, there's various parts that you'll require. One of them, of course, for us, OpenLDAP, is the OpenLDAP distribution. And so we can grab it in the source definition from the FTP site upstream. Of course, it doesn't have to be FTP. It could be a bunch of different resources, but that's where we happen to find it. We defined some of the build packages that are required at build time, and then we told it to not include an LDIF file that it uses to configure itself. We wanted to provide our own. And the important thing about it was the use of auto tools. So for those of you from a software development background, you'll know that auto tools is configure, make, install, that type of stuff, as opposed to us like Java developers who use Maven. So there's different plugins to support different backend build tools. And so, auto tools is the one for this. And then we have this environment part, again, which just provides us with the ability to dump in some pre-configured files that just set up the system in the way we want. So we want to have our own slapd LDIF and a init script. And so, we just have this part to actually define that stuff. And then we have an application definition. Slapd currently is the only thing we need to run. And so we can define it, define the fact that it has an init script, it has a start command, a stop command. It runs in a daemon mode, so it will start when the server starts. And that's it. I can then do snapcraft clean, snapcraft build, and I get a package out the end of it, which I can then chuck into the snap store, and my servers can start consuming. Of course, getting that stuff onto a server is still a manual process. And so the thing we're now working on after that is turning what we've done in Snap World into a charm that's deployable via Juju. So then we can start hooking it up to the big data bits and pieces. And so again, Stephen has been learning the ropes with Snap stuff by writing or starting to write this this charm for the OpenLDAP stuff. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there. If we can find the right window. There we go. So, there isn't much to OpenLDAP. We don't require any great amount of connectivity. There is more connectivity coming, and so we want to be able to provide easy access to TLS support and certificate for HTTPS, LDAP support without users having to actually do that type of thing. So there are going to be connections coming for LDAP support. And the cool thing about being able to configure OpenLDAP and run it via Juju is the fact that, you get this inheritance stuff going down the side. And so, you can see how we're starting to deploy stuff. Users will be able to set an admin password if they don't want to use the default base DN. And then this channel thing, this channel definition is cool. And so, we're using these snappy packages, and the snappy packages will allow us to select different channel to install stuff on. And so in this case, we're running off Edge because we're testing bleeding edge stuff. But then also, as you get further down to production, production systems will be wanting to run off a stable channel, because clearly you don't want your stuff to fall over when I push out an update that's not actually compatible with the stuff that you're running. So, you know, it offers a great deal of flexibility to be able to deploy these packages really succinctly, you know, and as soon as we have monitoring and that type of thing, we'll have a very flexible LDAP package that's very lightweight and can deploy into clouds, can deploy onto bare metal, and does very good job without hogging any resource. The other thing we'll have coming after we finish this one is PHP LDAP, you know, the LDAP admin solution for LDAP servers. And so, you know, when we were going through what server we wanted to deploy, we did think about Apache DS, Apache Directory Studio, and that type of stuff. But I wasn't too keen on the massive overhead when it comes to running the server stuff, and you have the reliance on the GUI for configuration, that type of thing. So, you know, we end up with OpenLDAP, which we're quite happy with. It's very lightweight and does the job. We just need to sort of solidify it, write some tests, and obviously, you know, just finalize the snap package itself. But certainly we're finding the snap packages a great way to work so far, and so hopefully we will be able to roll this out across our existing charms, and we update the underlying packages and that type of stuff. We'll get more snaps out to better serve our customers, you know, so we can just start updating our software and knowing that everyone gets the latest and greatest. They don't have to rely on clunky upgrades and installing stuff manually and tweaking configuration files. It's just something that runs, and so, you know, we're quite excited about that. Anyway, so that's what we've been working on this week. As ever, if you've got any questions, comments, tips, hints, knowledge you would like to share with us, you're more than welcome to. You can get in contact with us at Twitter at SpiculeIM. You can also obviously email us at info@spicule.co.uk. If you're interested in SDE, the data platform, spiculedata.com is the place to go. And until next week, bye for now.